Oh, my God. Okay, that's good. Well, here we are. The final preseason game is upon us. We get you set for the Oilers and the Canucks on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Hello, everybody. Welcome inside ESTHQ. Tom Gazzola, Joaquin, Gage with you. We've got Zach to come and Hernan, Salas manning the board, making sure this thing is running along smoothly. The 3-4 Edmonton Oilers taking on the 2-1 Vancouver Canucks. It is preseason game number 8. Text us, as always, 780-218-9999. And then, of course, get into the nasty chat if you're watching on YouTube. And Brendan Batchelor will be joining us a little bit later on, play-by-play voice of the Vancouver Canucks on the radio side. Joaquin, you're in for cast tonight. I thank you. You guys had a great day at South Fort Chev.
So did you, Tommy.
I enjoyed myself. I got pelted with Nerf bullets and Nerf guns. Jack Michaels saw the photo of me holding the bazooka Nerf gun, and he's like, "Why are you holding it like that?" I'm like, "Just a normal day, buddy."
Yeah.
Just a normal day.
Well, he's American. There's a lot. He knows how to hold a gun,
I guess. Hey-o. All right. We are rocking and rolling because this is the first pre- and post-game show of the year for us with the new lineup with Hernan back in the fold, and we are super excited. And Gager, again, thank you for filling in for Cass. What is the final preseason game like for guys that are on the cusp of maybe making the team because they've had a good camp in preseason, and then guys that could be on the way out? And do you think most of them have a sense of where they're at, or are they just guessing?
It's a good question. I look at both lineups. Like they're like veteran laden, both lineups. I wouldn't be surprised if on opening night, I don't know which date the Vancouver Canucks actually start.
I think they're Wednesday.
Are they Wednesday as well?
Calgary,
so Wednesday, I don't think you'll see a lot of change. Maybe one or two players.
Okay.
It's obviously where you sit coming into camp. And look, no one needs to tell you if you've done well or not. Usually, you have a good idea of your standing and how well you performed. For a lot of these guys, it's their last chance, But if you look at the Oilers lineup, it's a little bit puzzling. You would think that other guys would play on the back end, that maybe give them one more shot before those kind of final decisions are made. Quite possibly tomorrow or the next day, and then you kind of finalize your roster. It's still up in the air on the back end there. Vancouver's pretty much all set. I'm excited to see this game from a standpoint where there was a little bit of heat at the end. Puce and McDavid going at it, Perry getting in there. Things have bled over, obviously, from the 7-game series. You're going to see Miller. It's you might see a little bit of fireworks in this game.
I don't mind that, to be honest.
No, I think. You know what? This is why I like it, because now when you inject the passion into a game, that a little bit more physicality, I would gather that you're not going to see injuries because guys are playing full out. And when NHLers play full out, it's a controlled full out. The chances of getting injured, I think, are far greater when you're kind of in that half speed kind of zone, right? So actually, I don't mind if they play this game like a regular season game, and I think we might see that.
Okay, bring on the fireworks, first of all, because it's been a boring-ass preseason. Secondly, I don't care if it bleeds over from the playoffs, if there's animosity, because this is going to continue through the regular season, which is fantastic. And then the other thing is you talked about the lineups. I'll pass them along because you touched on the guys not dressed on the back end for the Oilers. So let's get to that because it is a veteran-heavy lineup for the Oilers and the Canucks for the Oil. McDavid between Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. Draisaitl with Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson. Henrique with Janmark and Brown. And then you've got Noah Philp. We'll probably talk about him, absolutely, with Podkolzin and Perry. Derek Ryan's a bit dinged up. The Oilers mentioned that and said it today. Derek Ryan's day-to-day. So that allows Philp to get in there. No Raphael Lavoie. On the back end, like you were talking about, Joaquin, Ekholm with Bouchard, Nurse with Emberson. First time we see that.
Yep.
And then Kulak with Stetcher. It's been Kulak and Brown for the preseason. Brown's out. Also out is Travis Dermott. Those two, it's interesting that they aren't playing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where
I thought there would be. And then maybe they just want to see that Stetcher pairing with Kulak, right? See if there's something there, a little bit of. Obviously, you want to see what Emberson can do with Nurse, and if there's some cohesiveness there. But I this is the thing. They're going to go up against really good NHL forwards here. So this will be a very telling game. I think if the Stetcher-Kulak pair play well tonight, I think you might see them on Wednesday.
That was my instinct as well. Is it a tell that Dermott and Brown are not in from the coaching staff? And if you're both of those guys, are you worried, or do you think something's been said to both of them?
No, I think if you kind of line everything up and you rank the defensemen, if you're looking at the bottom side, I think Stetcher is him. Dermott's played okay too, but I think Stetcher's just a little bit ahead of Dermott over camp. And we all know what happened with Brown. Hasn't had the best training camp, and I think he would tell you that if he were to talk to him. But something happens when regular season starts too. Brown could have been trying to feel himself out, saving some. You can't tell in preseason, Tommy. It's very bizarre, especially with established NHLers, right? So, but if things go well with that third pair, I have a feeling that that's what you're going to see on Wednesday.
That's I'll stand by you on that one. Reiterate that. Okay. For the Canucks tonight, this is what we're anticipating: JT Miller between Danton Heinen and Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson with Jake DeBrusk and Daniel Sprong, Teddy Bluger between Nils Höglander and Connor Garland, then Niels Oman with Arshdeep Bains, who scored against the Oilers last week, and then Kiefer Sherwood, who set that goal up. It was a nice bang-bang play, tape to tape. On defense for Vancouver, Quinn Hughes paired up with Philip Hronik, Carson Soucy with Tyler Myers, Derek Forbert with Vinny Desharnais. No Atu Ratu tonight. No Noah Juleson. No Mark Friedman. Between the pipes for the Oilers in goal, Stuart Skinner, the 25-year-old, 1-1 this preseason, 343 goals against average, 880 save percentage in the two appearances he's had. And then for the Canucks, 23-year-old Artur Shilov's 1-1 in the preseason, 3.01 goals against average, 894 save percentage in the two appearances he's had. He's going to be the guy, Shilov's, that's going to run with the net, most likely. They did sign Kevin Lankinen. Shilov's is a guy, Gager, that's played more playoff games than he has regular season NHL games. What do you think it's going to be like for him? Because Thatcher Demko is dealing with that knee injury.
Well, if you listen to the EST Afternoons 1 to 3 today with Hernan and myself, we talked to Don Taylor.
Right.
And very glowing kind of remarks of Shilov's, what he was able to do and kind of carry the load. So I think from a Canucks standpoint, they feel comfortable right now with Shilov's. But there's always the question, I always ask the question with goaltenders, that young guys that know that they're kind of in that backup or 1B role, there's always the big dog sitting there. Right. So although it's his net now, Thatcher Demko is lurking in the weeds, eventually going to come back and probably command a lot more time in the net. So, but it's different to be the man. Like now the team is relying on you every single night. He did it in a short sample size at the most important time of the year. And I think that's why we heard Don Taylor say, you know what, they're okay with it, but they want, obviously, Thatcher Demko to come back as soon as possible.
I'll ask Batch about that knee. It's a fickle knee injury. I think it's a weird...
it's a weird muscle behind the knee.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think after we heard certain players, like Evander Kane was asking other players about that injury, what they did, or get some insight. Thatcher Demko went around. No one's had this injury.
It's
No
like
one.
soccer players,
Yeah,
a
just
couple of them.
Just soccer players.
Yeah.
So it's a very bizarre thing for a goalie to have. And what concerns me is the amount of times goalies go up and down, up and down. And to have that type of, maybe it's really not conducive to continue, because we see him say he gets better, plays a little bit, and then it's done.
Yeah.
So
He's back to square one.
yeah. So that might mean a long, long period of time of just letting this thing heal.
You said, you and I were having a goalie discussion, as we tend to do, and you said that the amount of torque is double your body weight when you go up and down. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you basically double your body weight every time when you forcibly go down into like the butterfly, that's that amount of force every time you go down. So just add it up.
That's a lot of weight.
Over like a course of a month, practice, games, how many times goalies are going up and down, it eventually, like when I go upstairs, Tommy, if there's no, you can't hear anything else. All you hear are my knees going. It's terrible.
Oh, that's good. All right. Let's get into game changers as we get you set for this final preseason game. Tune up, Oilers and Canucks. Game changers is always brought to you by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. I said, Gager, what do you want to hit on for game changers? Usually we do three things. That's what Cass likes to go with. That's what you go with when you fill in for him, and Belsey too. But you're like, it's preseason. I was like, perfect. That's the only thing. It's preseason, but there are jobs on the line. Just your whole outlook on all of this for tonight.
Well, the game changer is changing preseason to regular season. Let's just say that.
Okay,
right?
That's better.
No, I want to see some chemistry with the back end. We know what it's going to be with Bush and Ekholm, right? They're a solid 1-2 defensive pairing. Probably going to get the tough assignments, things like that. I want to see how Emberson and Nurse communicate, how they support each other. That's a learning curve. And like I said, the Stetcher, I like Kulak. I like the fact that you have two really mobile defensemen there. Stetcher's shown that he can make that really good first pass too. Starting on the road's interesting too, because they won't get the favorable change. Maybe there's times when you'll see that pairing out there against a Pettersson line, things like that. And selfishly, I want to see Jake DeBrusk and Elias Pettersson play. Like that's
okay.
It's exciting for Louis was talking about it, and Cindy was talking about it. It's they're excited for their boy to get a chance, another chance in Vancouver. A great kid, lives in the south side of the city. I've wished the best for him, just not all the time.
Like tonight, I suppose. Okay, let's look at Noah Phillips' situation.
Yeah,
he's had a very good preseason, a feel-good story. This is a guy that sat out all of last year, but he comes in here and he has just a fantastic camp. He's winning faceoffs. The head coach starts out by talking about he doesn't really know him that well. Yes, there's the Golden Bears connection at the U of A, but then he starts to see him in action, sees what Philp can do. He's winning faceoffs. He's a right shot D-man, big body guy, goes to the tougher areas of the ice. Not necessarily overly physical, Joaquin, but like he's there.
Yeah.
And then he scores a goal. Then he sets up a goal. He's all over it. Like all of a sudden there's a question like, is he making this team out of the gate?
What you want to do from he's the perfect player that he comes into camp, young guy, and just create that doubt, make the decisions hard on the coaching staff and the management staff of who you're going to start with day one. And I think if you were really to rank who's had the best kind of preseason and camp, you'd have to look at Phil.
Yeah.
Right? He's been really, really solid. I worry about just taking the year off and getting into a position where, especially where he's slotted in right now, Tommy. That's a very responsible position. And maybe he's ready for it. I really thought at the beginning that they would probably start him in Bakersfield, see how it goes after a while, and maybe be one of those before Christmas call-ups and then probably be with the team the rest of the year at that point, depending on how it went in Bakersfield. But you got to hand it to him. He's made it all the way to the end of camp and getting to the last kind of cuts. These are very, very intense times for certain individuals in the Oilers lineup, not knowing. You want to hear those special words, find a place, and once you hear that, then it kind of cools down a bit. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he starts here or?
A goal and an assist, -4 in 5 games played in the preseason. He's playing his 6th preseason game. I admire everything he's done, and I'm not poo-pooing anything he's done because I think we're going to be seeing him up here this year. I still think that he's better off getting into a groove at the AHL level.
Yeah.
And I think he's the first call-up.
You got to earn it, but I think it puts him you want to put him in a position for success.
Yeah.
Right? So
right.
If he starts here and struggle, I think he can, just from what we've seen, if he plays this way, he's going to be a dominant force in the American League, right?
Yes.
So, and we've mentioned it so many times, confidence is half of hockey. And we've seen what happens. Look no further than last year, having Broberg and Holloway down there and consistently playing well. Like, they were different players after playing that amount of time.
Correct.
With the confidence they had coming into the NHL. That's what gives me pause, because this is the best league in the world, and even if you're in that 3 or 4C position, it's even becomes tougher with the amount of ice time, how you're supposed to perform. You're going up against, if you're in that 3C, I mean, look at you're going up against Lowry's and things, very skilled, tough, defensive-minded centermen that are just beasts on face-offs, right? So it would, I think, just with the year off, it's tough. But hey, he's put himself in a place where they're thinking about the possibilities of him being in the lineup.
If he has a monster game, I think he's on that opening night roster. Derek Ryan dinged up, like we mentioned a little bit earlier. So we'll see what happens. But Philp getting an opportunity, his 6th preseason game. That's a lot of preseason
That is
action.
a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of texts to get to, and then I'll get Gager's thoughts on Stu Skinner. And we already talked about Artur Shilovs, but Skinner gets to start tonight for the Oilers. Shilovs at the other end. We're familiar with these two going back to the postseason. Chief Andy in the nasty chat says, Gager doesn't like to be touched because the pucks never did. Oh.
Yeah, that's from earlier, because Hernan just couldn't keep his hands off me until I told him. So,
oh boy,
earlier today
look at you two building chemistry.
He was quite handsy,
like a defenseman and his goaltender.
Yeah, you know what? I can do the goaltending jokes from here on in with my career. We don't need any extra help. We already know this.
Hernan, are you available and ready?
Yeah, just going through some stuff back here. It's a lot, Tommy. I'm not gonna lie.
That's okay.
I'm a little flustered right now, but
you're in good hands with Zach.
Yeah, we are. Post game might be a complete gong show. We'll see if we get it on air. But
Love
good
it.
Stuff. You guys are killing it though.
Sweet.
It's preseason.
It's preseason. I know.
I can't wait to see Emberson tonight.
Well.
And then destroy him come post. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
I'm here to keep him calm. Like he's got a long season ahead of him. And you're all fired up.
No. I've liked what I've seen so far, but when I want to see him obviously against more NHL guys. That's what we're going to see tonight, and whether he's ready or not, we're going to see it Wednesday. So I'm excited to see Ty Emberson for sure. I'm just joking. I'm not going to go crazy tonight.
I know. He's already said you're not drinking. So.
Emerson paired up with Darnell Nurse. This text comes in and says, Bonus Gager is always a good show. Yes, that's very good. Trevor is in the house above average, says, let's effing go. Spanky Hugh says, first 6 o'clocker since late June. Great to see you, Tom. And Cracky Knees Gager. And then the Wolf, says, let's go. First pregame for me, guys. Excited for tonight and for Hello Hockey tomorrow morning. Yes, indeed. And what else? Corey B says, I'm hoping to score me one of those copies of NHL 25 tomorrow on Hello Hockey. Yes, we're going to be giving away a copy of NHL 25. Thank you, folks at EA Sports. What?
You guys are giving away games?
Yeah, we have a couple of copies to give away. I said this earlier in the day.
I did not hear that.
Oh, boy. Well, just
Too busy touching me.
more reason to listen and watch Hello Hockey Saturdays from 10 to noon right here on EST or Sportsnet 960 The Fan in Calgary and Sportsnet 650 Vancouver.
Wow.
Hey now. Okay, goaltending. Oilers. Stu Skinner getting the start. What have you seen from him in this preseason? I still am a little bit thrown off by texts coming in. I think one came into the morning show and then the oil stream saying, guys, what do we think of the goaltending? Dusty didn't pop off, but he was like, what do you mean? What do we think of the goaltending? Joaquin, go ahead.
This is the first time in years, I think, after the season, you hadn't heard anything about Oilers goaltending. Like, no, they need this, they need this. That's the first time in, probably 5-6 years that you've really...
Maybe since Cam Talbot's second year.
Yeah. And so, no, Stuart Skinner, after what he's been able to do, how many playoff games he's actually been in. He's been in a Stanley Cup final. He's experienced everything that you can possibly experience in such a short amount of time. It's more experience than a lot of goalies ever experienced at the NHL level. And I think the way he is, the way he carries himself, the drop in weight is surprising.
A little leaner this year.
Yeah.
Not much, but a bit.
I think you saw in the one game in the first period there, making some really acrobatic saves that are not uncharacteristic, but he seemed to do them quite effortlessly, right? So from a positional goalie base standpoint. So I'm completely confident in these two. Nothing, even preseason to me with these guys, especially as a goalie, I've liked the saves he's made. Sure, there's been some that's gone in, but I'm not going to fault him at that. Actually, I would have rathered him not play tonight and just
like Pickard.
Yeah, Pickard
they gave
played
that whole game in Seattle to Rodrigue.
I know. I just think I thought that. Obviously Pickard's a little banged up too, but I would rather have Skinner just like. You're going to be so juiced for game one. It doesn't. I don't think it's. You don't need extra to feel better about yourself. I'd like him kind of like a racehorse in the pen right before the horn to go out there. But if he needs one more game, I understand there's a lot of time from now till next Wednesday. But I don't think we'll have to worry. There's going to be peaks and valleys. Obviously, There always is with goaltending. He's going to have, I'm sure, probably one or two stints where things aren't going his way. But on the whole, I think you're going to see Stuart Skinner play at a level that you haven't seen so far in his career, and that's the level of where you see some of the other elite goaltenders like Hellebuck, Saros, that are huge difference makers for a consistent basis for a team that already has a lot of scoring power.
Third full season for Skinner in the National Hockey League coming up. Yeah, I think it's fair to remind folks of that. All right, before we get to Chris Knobloch, one last one for you. Gager comes in from T-Man via the Nasty Chat. What if Josh Brown is just playing it safe to get into regular season and already with a 3-year contract will turn into a beast when it counts? What would you tell T-Man?
That's what everyone hopes for. That's what I would.
Best case scenario.
That's the best case. But look, guys that maybe, if you read your press clippings and things aren't going well, just understand there's also, 1.5 million people probably hoping you're doing quite well too.
Yeah.
Like they're hoping for the best from you. They don't want to see anyone struggle. So that's what I would a coach would tell us at times. Do I think he can bounce back and just have? I think it's going to be tough for him. I don't know what type of D-man he is. From what he's shown so far, there's deficiencies, let's say, in his game, right? But it could be a case where, he signed a 3-year deal. He came to a Stanley Cup contender. There's a chance to win a Stanley Cup. Back your mind going, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to be better. Maybe he's gripping the stick a little bit too hard, right?
Yeah, I suppose,
that's always a possibility. And maybe just let the game come to him a little bit more and just play your game. You don't have to, you can't. No one can always be Paul Coffey, and you don't have to be Paul Coffey. You just have to be the best Josh Brown there is.
I understand that, and that's well said. I said that was the last question. One really good one that I think you have good expertise on just came in via the inbox, 780-218-9999 as we get you set for the Oilers and the Canucks. This one says, I think both goalies will be good, but is there a small chance Pickard has a regression since he has mostly been a career AHLer before last year?
Of course, there's always a possibility, but I think at his age, you understand your role a little bit. And I think he's built at this stage to be a backup goaltender.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that can probably grab the ball and run with it for a bit. But I don't think he won it for a longer length of time. But guys, we saw what he did in the playoffs. Like, he went in a crucial time and got a win. Like, how much more do you want from your second guy if needed? Both goalies have done exactly what you've asked of them over the course, especially Stu Skinner, over the course of the last 2 years. Like, he has outperformed what I thought he would be able to do. So why would I doubt him now? It makes no sense.
Pickard, 16 games his rookie year, 20 the next year, 50 on an absolutely abysmal Colorado Avalanche team in 16-17. Then he played one game with the Leafs, spent most of that year in the AHL with the Marlies, goes to Philadelphia, plays 11, traded that season to Arizona, plays 6 more, so 17 games. Then he goes to the Detroit organization, 3 games in 1920, 6 games in 2021, 3 games in 21-22, then signs with the Oilers, spends most of his time in Bakersfield, then gets the call-up last year in 23-24, 23 games. So he's either been a backup. He had the 1 year as a starter with the Avs when he thought they were going to get a goalie of the future in him. He's a backup. He's evolved into a backup, 32 years of age, and I think he's very comfortable in that role. So we'll see. I mean, if he plays 20 games, then
great.
Then that's great.
Yeah. You probably want, if he can play, if he can get closer to that 25 mark, that would be great. That would be really great, I think. And then see how it goes, too. I think giving Stu some breaks is important through busy times, and we saw what Pickard was able to do on those back-to-backs, going into places where, even he would play sometimes the first game and you'd be puzzled, right? And then Stu would get the back half of the 2 and 2 nights. So no, I like the tandem. I really like it. Of course, everyone wants the Allmark Swayman tandem where you have 2 1s, right? But that I don't know. You really don't see that much anymore.
Very rare to get that. 12-7-1 Pickard was last year. .909 save percentage. .245 GAA. Are you sticking around? Or are you?
I'm still sticking around.
Okay, sticking around. We're gonna go to Chris Knobloch next, and then Brendan Batchelor right here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Here's the head coach.
Ask you about Derek Ryan. Of course, he came on late. Do you have an update on number 10?
Yeah, he's just day-to-day. He won't play today, but should be ready for practice on Sunday.
And Stuart Skinner going to play the full 60?
He will play the full 60.
All right, so what do you need to see from your group here tonight coming off that loss in Seattle?
Just being a little more tenacious, especially around the puck. I thought we did pretty well moving the puck in the offensive zone, maybe not generating enough, getting to the net, but defensively, just changing that mindset of going from offense to defense and being able to track and close a little bit quicker, stuff like that.
It's an opportunity for Troy Stetcher to get back in the lineup with Brett Kulak. Can you maybe talk about what elements he brings to your team when he's playing his best hockey in Troy Stetcher?
We talk about our team being a little more tenacious, a little more quicker, and that's exactly the way he plays. He's not casual about anything. He's 100% on any play, whether it's offensively or defensively, and we like that about him. He is a smaller guy, but he is very competitive, and he uses his body as best as he can. So that's what we're expecting from him.
He talked candidly about his start with the Oilers last season when he got acquired and said he got off to a little bit of a slow start. How How do you kind of give him a clean slate here? How does that kind of work organizationally to make sure he can get on?
He came in as our seventh defenseman. He was there as depth, and he didn't get in very many games. And when he did, he was always wanting to make an impression. And often that puts a little too much pressure on yourself. His puck play is maybe a little jittery, and as after you got first couple games, he got better. And unfortunately, he ran into some injuries last year and wasn't able to practice, play any games. But we know the player that we have in him, and we like him. Otherwise, we wouldn't have signed him to that contract and having him coming back. We just think he's a very important piece for us.
Last time you guys played a pretty good night. Good memories from here? Or?
Yeah, anytime you finish off with a victory, something like that, it's memorable, it's positive. We had a heck of a series last year, and I'm sure we'll have several quality games against Vancouver this year also.
Across the bench, is there something about Rick Tocchet that you've come to appreciate that stands out to you?
Just a quality coach, gets the most out of his players. Whether it's his top line, his depth players, his special teams, a lot of respect for that, and also that everything's organized. You can tell that not only is he getting the most out of his players, but the team's playing a system, and you can tell that it's a well-coached team.
What's the expectation from Nurse and Emerson tonight?
Hopefully there's some chemistry there. Hopefully, they've been practicing together, and hopefully we can pick up and look like they've been playing years together. But it's going to be, getting used to each other, and to get over that, getting used to each other. I think the most important part of it is the communication, talking after every shift. What did you see? What did you want? Where did you want that puck? I think the more they can talk, the more the chemistry they can build, and go from there.
You're going to watch the Amazon series?
I'll probably get into it. I'll probably dip my toe into it, and then I'll continue watching it.
All right, joined now by the play-by-play voice of the Vancouver Canucks, Brendan Batchelor from Rogers Arena. Batch, I know a lot of people are excited that this is the finale of the preseason. How are people looking at this game in Vancouver tonight?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of excitement that it's the end of the preseason in Vancouver, and the Canucks have only played 6 games, so I can't imagine how Oilers fans are feeling with this being the 8th game of the exhibition campaign.
Fun.
But it's an exciting game because the Canucks made some cuts earlier this week, so they're almost down to their full roster, maybe 1 or 2 decisions left in terms of who might end up playing or at least being on the roster ahead of the opener on Wednesday against the Flames on home ice. So, and the fact that the Oilers have brought a very good team here, we're expecting all the stars to play on both sides. So I know it's a preseason game, but it's about as good of a preseason game as you can expect from a fan perspective.
Batch, here in Edmonton, basically it's what's going to happen on the right side of the defense, and then maybe who's the 13th forward. Those were the real, I suppose, quote-unquote competitions here. How about for the Canucks?
It's all at forward for the Canucks. So, with the blue line group they've got in, their top 4 has returned from last year with Hughes, Hronek, Soucy, and Myers, and then there'll be a new look third pairing of Derek Forbort and the former Oiler Vincent Desharnais. But up front, there are some interesting conversations to be had. Pius Suter is banged up a little bit right now, is out day to day, so that's opened a spot down the middle. And Atu Ratu, who's a 21-year-old Finnish centerman that was a big part of the Bo Horvat trade, came over to Vancouver from the New York Islanders, has had a really strong training camp, has come in and put himself in the conversation for that spot kind of out of nowhere. I don't know if anybody would have expected him to be in that conversation at this point, but he's going to center a line tonight with Niels Höglander and Connor Garland. So, that's something to watch for. And then opportunity on the wing, even though the Canucks addressed a lot of their wing depth issues with some of their free agent signings over the summer, in large part because Dakota Joshua is not available right now. He had a cancerous tumor removed over the off season, dealing with testicular cancer. So he has come through that well, is expected to be back soon, but has not skated with the team, as far as I know, maybe hasn't been on the ice yet either. So there's a timeline there in terms of his return. And so there's battles, particularly on the fourth line right now. Arshdeep Bains it was the leading scorer in the Western Hockey League a few years ago with the Red Deer Rebels. He's in the mix to potentially break camp with the team. Niels Oman, who played a little bit for them in the playoffs last year and, has kind of been in and out of the lineup for this group, is in that conversation. But other than that, their top six seems to be somewhat cemented. Danton Heinen appears to be ready to start the season on a line with JT Miller and Brock Besser, and Daniel Sprong and Jake DeBrusk are going to be flanking Elias Pettersson. So it's more about depth forward conversations in terms of what we're looking at for this preseason game tonight than anything else. And then once we get into the year, there will be conversations around Heinen and Sprong in particular, and whether they can play well enough to stay in those top six wing spots that they've been given the opportunity for right now.
Canucks play-by-play voice Brendan Batchelor joining us now as we get set for the final preseason game of the 24-25 schedule, thankfully. All right, you mentioned Vinny Desharnais. My colleague and friend and co-host Sean Bell calls the defense on the Vancouver Canucks the Sequoias, and Vinny Desharnais certainly adds to that. How has he looked, and what's the expectation from the former Oiler?
Yeah, I'm learning a lot about different types of trees because I've heard them called the redwoods too. So I guess it depends where your preference lies. But yeah, Rick Tocchet likes big defensemen that have length, have reach, can play physical, and Desharnais is going to fit into that. As I said, he's likely to play on a pairing with Derek Forbort, who kind of fits that mold as well. And those guys are both going to be penalty killers for this group. So they're kind of exactly the players that Rick Tocchet wants. I think from the outside looking in, the question is going to be, after the top pairing of Hughes and Hronek, do they have enough puck moving ability back there? And is that something that they might have to address at some point in the season or before the trade deadline, which remains to be seen. But the way this team defended last year, they had Ian Cole, who's a big defenseman who's no longer here. Carson Soucy and Tyler Myers are both back. They're big guys. Nikita Zadorov has moved on to the Bruins, but obviously he was a big physical presence. So those are the kind of defensemen that Rick Tocchet likes if your name is not Quinn Hughes or Philip Hronek and you're an elite level puck mover.
Batch, I know this was a fantastic series last year in the playoffs, and Arturs Shilovs wrote a phenomenal story. He really did, and that's who we're going to see tonight. How much concern is there with the Vancouver Canucks goaltending and this, peculiar Thatcher Demko injury where, it seems like he's okay, and then the knee bothers him, and they had to go outside of hockey, and I think it was soccer players in Europe. They found a few of them that had this same injury. What is the detail we need to know about the goaltending situation? How much concern is there?
Yeah, I think there is a healthy dose of concern. Demko suffered this injury in game one of the first round against the Nashville Predators in the spring, and we're sitting here in October now, and he's still not in consideration to return to the lineup yet, although he has been trending in the right direction according to all reports. But it's a small part of the knee called the popliteus, and I'm not going to try and play doctor here on your show because I'm not well suited to that. But if you go and look at it on WebMD, which is about the extent of the research that I've done, it says the recovery time from an injury to this part of the knee can be anywhere from 3 to 16 weeks. So
wow.
It's wide open. There's no timetable for his return, although, as I said, he's been trending in the right direction. He's been on the ice. We saw him working with their goalie coach, Marco Terenius, at a training camp on the ice. But, there is no imminent return for Thatcher Demko. I think it's fair to say he hasn't skated with the team or anything like that. So they have Arturs Shilovs, who, you're right, authored that great story in the playoffs last year, coming in and backstopping the Canucks right all the way to Game 7 against the Oilers in the second round. And then they also signed Kevin Lankinen, the former Nashville Predators backup goaltender, for a bit of veteran support. But Shilovs, other than that run in the playoffs, doesn't have a big track record at the NHL level. So this is going to be a big test for him if he wants to be the every night starter for this team until Demko is able to come back from injury, whenever that might be. The thing that benefits the Canucks is they don't have a back-to-back till mid-November. So they have opportunity to potentially get both these guys into the crease if they want, or if one of them gets hot, they'll just be able to ride the hot hand. But, certainly it's something that could be concerning, especially if results go against the Canucks early in the year.
Batch, you know what? Vancouver, regardless of Demko being in there or not, has a pretty plucky team, and I think they're going to be pretty darn good again. And I look forward to talking about the Oilers and Canucks going toe-to-toe a bunch this season. Thanks for the time. Enjoy the preseason finale, my friend.
I will enjoy it when it's over. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate you having me.
So too will I. Brendan Batchelor, play-by-play voice of the Vancouver Canucks. All right, let's hear from a former Canuck, Troy Stecher.
Suiting up with Brett Kulak here tonight. Can you maybe just talk about the opportunity for you in the final preseason game here tonight?
Yeah, it's another opportunity for myself to prove to my teammates and the coaching staff that I can be an option. And at the end of the day, I think we're focused on our group now. I think we're kind of out of that phase where guys are focused on their individual selves and trying to prepare for the season. And this is our last opportunity to gel as a group and kind of work on knocking off the rust. So excited to be a part of the group and going to do what I can tonight to help the team win.
What do you feel like you've been doing effectively to make yourself more of a consideration for that option in number 6?
Just being myself. I pride myself on being a good pro and my work ethic, and I've come to the rink every day with a purpose. So just being myself, and I think more oftentimes than not, it's going to take care of itself. So just being myself, not changing, and understanding what makes me successful.
Is it always special coming back to Vancouver?
Yeah, obviously. I started my career here, and then obviously my family's from here. And, I could go deep into it, but yeah, I love playing in Vancouver. It's a great city. Enjoyed my time here, but I like being on the other side now.
I know you want to talk about the collective and not so much about yourself. Maybe collectively, what are the strides you guys have been able to take this week in order to make sure you're ready to go for next Wednesday as well?
Well, I think a big emphasis has been keeping the puck out of our net. I know it's preseason, but we've given up 4 different times, so practice is definitely ramped up. The compete level is a little higher, and I think because of that, we've definitely worked on our D zone. So I think that's kind of the main focus tonight as our group is, playing a 5-man unit defensively and understanding that if we take care of our own zone, offensive side's going to come.
As a defenseman, do you have to adjust your game at all when you're playing with a new partner every so often? Because obviously with Brett Kulak tonight, you've been rotating a little bit. Do you have to adjust your game at all?
Maybe a little bit, but I think Cooley and I have been in the league long enough. I'm the same age. I've seen his game so much. I think he's seen my game, so we have some familiarity that way. And just being around here last year, even when I was hurt, just rubbing shoulders with these guys, building relationships. I think that goes a long way on the ice with communication. So maybe a couple tendencies that you'll pick up throughout the game that maybe you're not used to, but for the most part, it's pretty easy.
You guys ever play together growing up?
No, played against each other a lot. Yeah. He's an Alberta boy, I was a BC boy, so we crossed paths a lot in spring hockey and through winter hockey at different tournaments.
Joining a new team is nothing new for you, but coming into your camp, is there a different feeling versus joining a team, late season, as you said, you also deal with the injury and all that?
Just a little bit, yeah. Just I don't know. I think first impressions super important, and lasting impressions really important. And obviously last year, I didn't have 2 good showings. My first game as an Oiler, I took 2 penalties and was playing hurt, and then ended up not even finishing the year, getting surgery. So just on an individual level, I was pretty concerned about the impression that I left. So I just had a focus of this camp and coming in and showing what I'm capable of doing, and trying to show my personality and who I am as an individual. So it was kind of a different camp for me in that regard, but at the end of the day, it's my 9th training camp. You got to come in and you got to work and you got to earn your spot. That's never changed. So that part of it was the same.
Maybe take us through the mindset of an athlete. How do you park that? How do you park that quote unquote tougher start that you had and make sure that you make your best foot forward? How do you do that?
I don't know. I guess for me individually, this is all I ever wanted to do was play hockey. So it's pretty easy to come to the rink and fight for what you've dreamed of as a kid. And I think as a kid, you dream of playing in the NHL, and you also dream of winning a Stanley Cup. So understanding the opportunity that we had last year and being able to help out this group this year, it's pretty motivating on both fronts. So it wasn't very difficult to come to camp motivated and willing to work. So yeah, it's been good so far.
2 assists and 8 penalty minutes with a +4 rating in the 7 games he played. And then prior to that, 47 games with the Coyotes, a goal, 4 assists, 24 PIMs, and a +5. So he plays 54 games, +9, 7 points, 32 penalty minutes. And he's been around for a while. He's coming up on 500 NHL games. So
it's impressive.
Yeah, it is. And,
Yeah.
and you touched on it. This might be an indicator, him playing with Kulak. He talked about playing with Kulak there. That he might be on the opening night roster.
Yeah, and you always want like young players to take the next step. And unfortunately for the Oilers now, the cupboards are quite bare on the back end. And the alternative to that is going with some guys that are a little bit more experienced. And you look at the man games played on the back end now of the Edmonton Oilers, it's getting up there is what you want, with Emberson the only one kind of taking away from that. But I think with the amount of experience, if this is the way it kind of goes, there's a lot he can be as a sponge and feed off these guys, I think, a little bit. So, I mean, obviously there's 2 questions that we've been kind of beating around this whole preseason and camp is the chemistry with Leon, with the new wingers,
yes,
and the who's going to be able to fill these pretty big gaps on the Oilers, these 3 big gaps on the Oilers D from last year.
Stetcher getting the look tonight. Zedmo via the nasty chat says Stetcher will be good for the Oilers and adds Gager touched on it with the touch theme.
Yeah.
Joaquin. Oh, there he is. Okay. Really quickly, as we're going to get set to bring in Hernan, who is going through his production 101 course with Zach to come right now, and it's going well. We're going to be ready to go for Wednesday. This text comes in and says, was Stetcher injured when the Oilers got him? How was that trade not void when they got their draft pick back, or did he get hurt after they got him? It was made very clear he was injured after they got him, so he was not hurt when they got him. All right, let's get the Latino Heat in here. How you doing, Nanso?
Zach's making me laugh over here. So.
Giving you a clap.
Zach's
surviving.
He's marking down all my mistakes, and he's like, you're scrolling Instagram and you're scrolling Twitter.
Well, that's funny because he does the same thing.
Yeah, but I'm learning, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's a little bit different though, but all good.
Have you figured out how to put yourself on the screen?
No, we will though.
Okay, well that's good.
We're gonna have to for post game. It's gonna be very awkward.
Exactly. All right. Well, your thoughts going into this game? I know it's been a tutorial while you're trying to talk about the game, but I know you're always thinking about it.
Yeah, just intrigued to see the decor. Like, I know what Stetcher's going to bring. And he said it there in that interview. His first game, he was hurt. He took 2 penalties. I think it was 3, actually.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So I'm looking at those guys. Like Noah Philp, I think, guys, he's done enough. But also, do you want him up here if he's going to be the 4th-line center or the guy that's the odd man out, right? Like, do you just want him down there maybe for a month playing top minutes, playing in every situation, and then call him up? Because he's obviously ready and he can come up. So I think he's going to start the season here. I still think they go Derek Ryan, if healthy, obviously.
He's
for
nicked
that
up today.
Yeah, for that first game. Because you have to win that first game. And you're playing a very talented team in Winnipeg. So I think going with Derek Ryan would be the smart move. But I'm impressed by Noah Philp. And continue to see that second line, the chemistry. I've really liked what I've seen from Arvidsson and Draisaitl. I think that's really going to work. I think Skinner's going to get there. I'm not saying he's playing horrible or anything like that, but he's going to be, I think he's learning to play with Draisaitl. Do you know what I mean? Because Draisaitl can make a pass from anywhere, forehand, backhand. So for me, that's what I'll be watching. And just keep it clean, boys. There's no need for nonsense tonight. And
I want nonsense.
And injuries and all that. We've seen a ton of injuries to top players. We don't want to see it on either team. We want these teams to go in healthy. Well, for Vancouver, without Thatcher, Demko is a big loss. But you know what I mean. So, yeah, I'm excited. It's hockey, man. I love it.
Bring it on.
And it's been a long day for all of you, for all of us.
Oh, we're here till the bitter end, big boy. Till the bitter end. All right, lineups. I saw somebody text in saying, what are the lineups for tonight? We'll go over them one more time and then get some final thoughts from Joaquin as we get you set for the Oilers and the Canucks. You can text us if you've got any questions or any comments, 780-218-9999. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up and get into the nasty chat. Oilers lineup tonight. McDavid between Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. Draisaitl with Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson, like Hernan was talking about. Henrique centering the third line with Janmark and Brown. Noah Philp getting another look at center between Vasily Podkolzin and Corey Perry. Derek Ryan, day-to-day, the Oilers have him listed at Ekholm paired up with Bouchard. Nurse with Emerson. We'll get our first look at that pairing, and then Kulak with Troy Stetcher. As for the Vancouver Canucks, JT Miller centering Danton Heinen and Brock Besser. Elias Pettersson between Jake DeBrusk and Daniel Sprong. Atu Ratu between Nils Höglander and Kiefer Sherwood, and then Teddy Bluger centering Nils Oman and Arshdeep Baines. On defense for Vancouver tonight, Quinn Hughes with Philip Hronik, Carson Soucy with Tyler Myers, Derek Forbert paired up with Vinny Desharnais. In goal for the Oilers, 25-year-old Stuart Skinner, 1-1 this preseason, .343 GAA, .880 save percentage in 2 appearances, and then Arturs Shilovs, the Canucks hero of the 2024 postseason, the 23-year-old, a 1-1 record in the exhibition round, 3-0-1 GAA, .894 save percentage in those 2 appearances in preseason. He will be leaned on as Demko recovers from a peculiar knee injury. Bizarre, yeah, that's a tough one. Joaquin, all right, final thoughts go to you, and then I'll go into the text line and the nasty chat as we get set for the last preseason game.
Yeah, I hope that both teams go full out, right? Like, get ready for the regular season. They're both veteran lineups. For the Oilers, I think just put that splinter of doubt. You know, I know this game means nothing point-wise for the regular season, but winning in the other person's building on a Friday night before the regular season, you know, you're going to be playing these guys throughout, possibly further down the road after 82 games as well. They already had one huge game. Like, you keep the streak going in the visitors' home arena. I think that's kind of important.
I like that kind of. What is it, like pee on their fire hydrant
exactly.
type of thing,
yeah.
To use a dog analogy. All right, one from Hontorio Momes to wrap up. Hontorio Momes texting in. What's up, Hontorio Momes? I feel as though if the D is anything less than steady for the first 20 games, you pull the trigger before deadline like Rutherford. Last year proved positioning matters, especially with Edmonton in the playoffs. And that's something that the players talked about going into training camp is that was a stark and harsh realization. Not having home ice, not starting at home in playoff series. These guys might be motivated to finally get home ice for more than a round.
Well, it's experience, Tommy, right? They realized, God, wouldn't it be nice to have Game 7 on our ice?
Could you imagine that building?
It's not only the building, it's just the comfort level of it all.
Yeah.
Like, and even to certain aspects of your game, some parts of the Oilers game were just better at home than they were on the road. Like their power play, for instance, was way better at home than it was on the road. And that's, you know, you look back to Game 7, that's at home, get those power play chances. Who knows?
Game changer. Game changer, for sure. Joaquin, you had game changers on this pregame show. We will look forward to seeing you and talking with you, hopefully on the postgame show. We are doing a postgame show. We're going full pull as Hernan and I get reacclimated with one another. It's been a couple of years, and he's learning the ropes, working the production side here, and co-hosting on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pre- and post-game show. Joaquin, fantastic work today, my friend.
This is great. It's good to hear that music again.
Oh, yeah, baby. That means it's hockey season, the last preseason game. Oilers, Canucks, big thank you to Brendan Batchelor, play-by-play voice of the Vancouver Canucks. For Hernan and Zach and Joaquin, I'm Tom saying thank you for watching. See you on the post-game show. Ciao for now.